Domain 7, Policy and Advocacy. The teacher leader understands how educational policy is made at the local, state, and educational level. The teacher leader uses this knowledge to advocate for student needs and for practices that support effective teaching and increase student learning, and serves as an individual of influence and respect within the school, community, and profession. Advocacy, and later changes in policy, often start with that one, maybe not so quiet voice. This is the story of Clara Barton and the New Jersey public school system. When she was told that there were certain children who were unteachable, she advocated for those children and established a school within their neighborhood. If she had not advocated, if she had not pushed for public school policy that helped all children, this very influential teacher leader would never have gained the policy changes in New Jersey that allowed for the education of all children. Teacher leaders must lead the way to 21st century schools. We can do this by developing a basic understanding of the history, present, and future of public education. Sir Ken Robinson gives us a fascinating overview of the problems within our current systems and why it is not good for our students. Teacher leaders use this information to help advocate and create policy change so that students and their educational systems can be brought into the modern world. Before you can analyze and collaborate on policy and advocacy, it helps to know where to look for the policy relevant to students, parents, teachers, and the staffs we serve as teacher leaders. I realize that I know my district, state, and federal policy concerning my classroom practices and special education, but had not used them to identify trends or as a true catalyst for change site-wide. Instead, I saw policy as the brakes being put on innovation, as in, we can't do that, it's policy. So I came to the conclusion that I needed to start with the first step. That step is knowing where to look for policy so I can be absolutely firm in my knowledge as I share with others. Howard Schultz, in Pour Your Heart Into It, talks about people who had great instinct and vision, but unless they could see how the policies of their businesses fit into that vision, they were doomed to simply make noise. It is up to the teacher leader to use their influence so that we do much more than make noise. We advocate for true policy change that is positive for children and for staff. Advocacy skills may not come naturally to many classroom teachers. The NSDC, the National Staff Development Council, offers a step-by-step handbook to help teacher leaders model the way. This is an excellent resource found on the Learning Forward website that guides teacher leaders at the beginning of their educational advocacy journey outside of their school and district settings. Parents and community members may also be new to educational policy and the skills they need to advocate for students. They may have never considered policy questions such as, how has educational policy been developed? Who are historically education's most influential advocates? How did they start advocating? What are the steps they took? Or did these people have one moment that propelled them to work for change? They may have questions such as, is all educational policy grounded in law? Scopes monkey trials, Plessy versus the Board of Education, or Brown versus the Board of Education. They may ask, when did lawsuits become the primary means for advocating for educational change, rather than the advocacy and policy change that is the result of people working within the educational system and collaborating together? How does this policy change directly affect classroom instruction when it is happening at the state or national level? How does it affect my children, my students? How does it affect my business? By educating our community about the historical background of educational policy, We, as teacher leaders, are empowering them to participate in informed conversations about site-based, district-based, state, and national decision-making. This is an essential role of the teacher leader as we learn to advocate not only within but outside of the classroom and school setting. A wonderful example of one of our most inspiring advocates is 2012 National Teacher of the Year, Rebecca Milwaukee. In this video, she speaks at the National NEA Convention in Washington, D.C., and reinforces our need to do what's best for children and to be a strong voice for students everywhere. She exemplifies what we as teacher leaders need to do in order to model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and of course, encourage the hearts of all of education's stakeholders.